So I guess maybe we could start today with why we did not record yesterday. Give me the details if there are any.
So I got out of work and I was like, I gotta run the dogs before coming here. So otherwise they're crazy, you know, dogs need exercise. So I brought them to my mom's house to let them play with her dog, Cheez-It. And I hopped in the shower while they were outside playing. And then as soon as I got out and then started walking towards the door to go get them, I started hearing screaming from Fable. And she comes running over and she looks fine. She's not limping. I'm like, okay, what's wrong? And then you just start to see like blood gushing from her nose. And I was like, okay, what now? She's my little lemon child. So
Yeah, was she like 5 months, 4 months?
whatever 20 weeks is. So
Divided by 4, so 5 months.
5 months, yeah.
Yeah, there we go. Wow, math.
I know. I can't do that. Got a calculator for that. So we had to put pressure on it for a bit, and it stopped bleeding. I put her in a kennel, and then she started, I don't know, she sniffled a little bit and blew the clot. So she was just keep dripping blood and more blood, and I was like, no, stuff isn't fun or safe to just be like, oh, it's fine. Yeah, you gotta keep an eye on it. So
Is it more dangerous since they have such a long snout with the Borzois, or?
I would say less because it's less likely of a chance of it dripping back compared to a small breed.
Is that the danger?
Yeah, you don't want them to aspirate on their own blood.
Oh, okay, that's fair.
So that was my concern, is she was going to aspirate on her own blood, or wherever she punctured, which is like a septum piercing almost. Like, you know how people have like the piercing right here. She pretty much did that to herself. It didn't go all the way through, but she got herself pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know what they would have done at the ER. I've never seen an injury like that personally. So I was like, obviously it's gotta be my dog.
The guinea pig.
Yeah, but I sent pictures and videos to one of my friend Sabrina, who was tacking at the ER that night, and I'm like, show one of the doctors.
Is she gonna die?
And they're like, just ice it and keep an eye on it, and if she starts coughing, sneezing, wheezing, bring her in. So
Yeah.
it stopped overnight. Like I have blood all over my room from her. She touches everything. So
With the nose too, I bet.
yeah, and she sleeps on my bed. So obviously I had to get my blankets and pillows washed. And there's just like blood on the door. There's blood on the floor. I'm like, I'll clean this at some point.
It's like a murder scene in your
It
house.
looks like a murder scene, yeah. So that is why I cannot make it.
That's all right, because at least now Fable is safe.
Yes, zooming, living her best life.
Yeah, you sent me that cute video of them running in the field. Yeah, so let's hop into, I guess, dog park etiquette,
Okay.
because I'm very critical of most, and most people could use a lesson or two. So let's start with everyone's favorite topic of poop. We love poop. There seems to be a problem at the dog park our local dog park.
I think it's every dog park.
Is it every dog?
Yeah.
I honestly pretty much just go here.
I just go to Saturdays usually, but anywhere I go, like, have it be like just a regular baseball field.
Yeah.
You know, where people walk their dogs too. I'm like, shit everywhere.
Poop everywhere, yeah.
Yeah.
So it's especially bad since COVID started. There used to be barrels that were like, around them. They took those away.
And they have that one big
Now
dumpster.
they have the one big dumpster. So now, one thing I see a lot now versus what I used to see a lot of, poop everywhere. And I used to walk around and I'd rake it. Mm-hmm. But now it's like poop bags everywhere. Mm-hmm. And so now I can't really rake it. It's just like you got to walk around, pick it up.
That's my least favorite.
Yeah, there's a lot of people that seem to now just kind of like...
At that point, just,
Yeah.
It's better if you're going to just bag it and leave it, just rake it and leave it. You're now littering with plastic that's not biodegradable in the environment. Also bring poop bags, because that's also gross to leave your dog's poop.
Yes. Yeah. So say you are one of those people you find yourself. I'm not gonna lie, I've totally been there where I'm like, crap,
Same.
I don't have poop bags.
Yep.
And usually it's easy enough to just be like, hey, can I borrow a poop bag? But let's just say hypothetically, you're the only one on the island, and your dog poops, and there's no poop bags in sight. Is it okay to leave it? Not like morally, but like,
I would
can
say,
birds get sick? Can deer get sick? Is there a risk?
I mean, there is zoonotic issues, so parasites you can pass from people to other dogs. So you gotta worry about that. You gotta worry about parvo being a big one that's transmitted through feces. So
Okay. I've heard, I think Bailey's and Banjo have booster shots or some sort of.
they should, yeah. If you're gonna leave it, I recommend moving it to the side and or burying it if you can with something.
Okay.
You know, like kick up some dirt.
Just
with
like
your shoe.
camping.
Yeah, and bury it. Like, that's gonna protect a lot of young dogs, especially who don't have immunity. You know, you're gonna cause someone's dog to have parvo, and dogs don't live through that sometimes. So,
Yeah.
guilty conscious here.
Is parvo something that you pick up once? Is it something you can pick up frequently?
So, it per dog, you can usually they pick it up once and they go through it and they got some immunity to it, but they're pretty close to death.
Okay.
Like, we get a bunch of parvo puppies coming in right now because everyone's getting puppies for Christmas and New Year's, and they're bringing them out places unvaccinated.
Right.
And they're picking up parvo, and they're literally like dehydrating themselves to death.
Yeah.
And it's hard to keep. It's pretty much just supportive care that we do for those dogs. So making sure
So you can basically go from having a puppy who's like running around, being a puppy, to.
It stays in the environment for 3 years too.
Ooh.
So it's not something that your puppy has it and goes to the bathroom in your yard and you clean it up and it's fine. It stays there in your yard for 3 years. And then you gotta worry about bringing new puppies in, new dogs that don't have vaccines, older dogs, stuff like that.
Yeah.
Very rarely do I see it in older dogs, but it's mainly puppies.
Huh.
So that's why I say, if you're gonna leave it, break it over, bury it, make it as much as possible not to be able to come in contact with, because it's not a fun time to deal with, and it's really expensive at the ER for the owners, because they have to be hospitalized usually, and people
Is it
will
a quick, like, do the dog display symptoms very quick after coming in contact with parvo, or
sometimes not. It could take a good day or two or a week. It just depends on the puppy's health and what part and vaccines they have, and so that's an important thing. Also parasites, so giardia, whipworm, roundworm,
a lot of worms,
a lot of worms. Not heartworms, mosquitoes.
Oh, interesting.
Yes, that's why if it's warm out, make sure your pet's up to date on heartworm prevention. But yeah, that's not a fun time for anyone to deal with, and people can get some of the things. So we can get giardia, we can get roundworm.
So for all you children out there who are rolling down the hill at Starter's Neck,
Not
stop.
recommended.
You're gonna literally maybe get sick.
Yep.
That and sledding cracks me up.
I mean, that would be a nice hill to sled down. I get that, but I wouldn't do it at a dog park.
Yeah.
Because you're sledding down and you're going to hit a brown spot.
Yep. Or 2 or 3. So as far as, since we're touching on vaccines, so is it typically you want your dog to be vaccinated to keep it safe from the environment and / other dogs?
Vice versa, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So like with giardia, parvo, obviously they're going to have to go to the bathroom. We're out their park.
Yeah.
So if they are sick,
don't bring your dog.
Yeah. So are there signs of those that
diarrhea is usually the main one for giardia. It's mucousy and like other parasites, so worms. You can usually see worms like segments of rice or spaghetti like worms. Yeah, it's gross. It's gross. I used to have to read fecals at my old hospital, like manually.
Yeah.
Now we just send them all out to like a specialist. I'm like, thank God.
Yeah, because obviously, if you don't know your dog's sick and you bring them, you know, there's potential that they could just be spreading
Yeah.
something that could be deadly to, yeah, a puppy that's there for the first time.
Yeah.
That's pretty wild to think about.
And that's like something to talk about too, is puppies at dog parks, honestly. Like I personally believe puppies shouldn't be at dog parks until they're comfortable and stable and up to date, at least on their parvo distemper vaccine, have their rabies and or kennel cough vaccine, which is the Bordetella vaccine. Those are super important. Those are considered core vaccines. So rabies, obviously fatal. I think there's only one human that survived it, and she is very mentally not well.
Yeah.
Parvo, like I said, very deadly as well. And then kennel cough, it's a viral. Young dogs can suffer, respiratory issues with it more so than older dogs, but older dogs do get it. Those all should be like the main ones you keep up to date on. There's a couple others. So leptospirosis, I would probably recommend, just because you're going out to a park that has wildlife, birds, rabbits, squirrels, rats, mice. I bet they're there everywhere because of all the berries on the trees. So that's a bacteria found in their urine that goes into, puddles, streams, any of the gross muddy water there.
Is that something dogs can transfer to other dogs?
Yes, and to people as well. And that causes pretty bad kidney and liver failure. So it's contagious dog to dog and dog to human. And, that's something I recommend, especially if there's a lot of puddles or if your dog likes to drink from puddles. That's probably a good idea.
Sorry, I'm just laughing because I'm just thinking as you're saying this how all my dogs do it. They'll run up to a puddle, pee in it, and then...
Oh, yeah. I see that.
What are you? Get out of the puddle.
That probably tastes so gross,
I know.
too. But I do recommend that one if you have a dog that's a big puddle drinker, goes into streams, ponds, small bodies of water, even if they catch animals. So if they catch a lot of squirrels, catch a lot of rabbits, mice, rats, stuff like that. Another one to consider is Lyme disease because there's ticks. I will say I don't see a lot of ticks at starters, but at other places.
I've definitely pulled I think a total of one tick from the dog park. But then I'll go, into a
different place.
Wampatuck,
and
they
they
come out with 50 of them. Yeah.
I think a lot of people do a good job keeping their dogs up to date on flea and tick. So I think there isn't a lot of population there for ticks, just because they die off as soon as they bite your pet because the flea tick prevention. So I feel
like a lot of the wildlife too is maybe across the street at Bear Cove.
Yeah.
Where there's less dogs just because. Or they at least maybe come over at night.
Yeah. Exactly.
But during the day I've never seen a deer.
I don't think I've ever seen a deer,
there,
but I think I've seen rabbits there. I've seen squirrels there.
Yep.
They can also carry.
Can they carry Lyme?
I don't know how it affects them. I know a lot. We get Lyme. Cats can get Lyme, but it's not. We don't test specifically for Lyme in cats, which I think we should. But I think they might in some it's some sort of way. I don't know how it affects them, but I'm sure they probably get Lyme. So keeping your pet up to date on flea and tick prevention, as well as getting the Lyme vaccine, would be a good idea for going to any place that has wildlife or woods. It's just better safe than sorry because long term you can get Lyme nephritis, which is pretty bad liver failure when they're older, and it's something that could have been prevented. It's not easily treatable. It's usually end all type of thing.
Lawson, the double Merle Aussie I watch, he has actually. I think his sister Daisy might have Lyme as well. Is there? I don't think it I don't think they're on like any medication. I don't think it's like affecting them at all. Is that something that like
So
Jane should consider in the future?
Lyme, I recommend treating it. It's usually recommended they treat once, and they'll still come positive years to come because they'll have the antibodies in their system.
Okay.
Depending on what type of test their vet does. So either an Acuplex, which tests just exposure versus antibodies versus vaccine, or a 40X, which is just saying, do you have antibodies? Yes or no. If you do, you're positive. Okay. Usually, first-time positives you treat with doxycycline, which is an antibiotic, for 30 days. And then after that, expect that you'll be positive for a couple of years. Eventually, it should fade on the test, depending on which test you do. As well as doing, I think you do like some urinalysis is because they can affect, liver, kidney stuff.
Okay.
And then I think the last vaccine I recommended is influenza. I personally don't do this one, but some daycares require it. It's pretty much the flu vaccine for dogs.
I didn't know that they could get the flu.
It's different than humans, but
Okay.
and it comes off as a lot of different like symptoms. A lot of people say overall like upper respiratory infection is typically influenza type of stuff. If you're going to be in constant contact with dogs, strange dogs you don't know, daycares, like I said, some of them require it because they constantly have dogs in and out. That might be a good one. I don't personally do it for my dogs, just my preference, because I don't go to the dog park as often as like you do.
You're right.
Or, but it's something to consider, I guess, because I do go to dog shows, and you can pick it up there.
So it sounds like, as far as like keeping your pet safe from, I don't want to say disease is not the right word, but bacteria, viruses.
It is diseases too.
Okay. Yeah. So clean up after them, obviously, and
vaccinate your dogs.
make sure that they're vaccinated. Yeah.
At least the core, rabies, December, bordetella.
Yeah, I agree. I know Bailey and Banjo, they've got rabies, parvo, bordetella. I think that's it, but like I wouldn't bring them until they had all that because again, I know how many puddles there are.
Yeah.
I know that they pee in the puddle and then they immediately drink from it. Like, so yeah, it's definitely smart because I can't imagine getting a puppy and then losing it in such a horrible way.
Yeah.
Like especially where it's like if you were just a bit more patient, just waited a bit.
Just wait.
Now it's obviously very important to get them socialized as quick as you can.
Yeah, so I would recommend friends that that have friendly dogs. Puppy play groups that they're required other dogs to be vaccinated and they're the same age, and other family member dogs. I wouldn't recommend jumping right to dog parks because, again, you're exposing your puppy to things that it could pick up and, potentially kill it.
Yeah. Yeah, I totally agree with that. I don't think that's like a crazy, outlandish claim. It's just like, just think about your puppy's health and
you could always that's the thing too is you bring your puppy to a dog park and it's going to experience maybe an aggressive dog and that's going to mess up the whole puppy's future with other dogs potentially. You want your dog to gain its confidence before going into a group setting where there's a lot of dogs coming at it all at once and they may mean well but it could set your dog back and make it dog aggressive or fear aggressive or just fearful in general.
Yeah, there's definitely something to be said because I've seen so many puppies that people bring and they're just like, you sure that puppy's ready? Because, and you can see it in the body language, especially just,
and
they'll like cower by their human and, feel very like overwhelmed. Like, yeah, Fable was overwhelmed the other day.
I know, and that's why I haven't really brought her there because I'm like.
But you work through it with her in a very positive manner.
Exactly.
And by the end of it, like, I don't know how many
And
dogs.
she is
I think I
5
had like
months, I
8
will
dogs,
say, yeah.
you know, and she was
Just trotting along.
fine with it. You know, at first she was just like, it's a
I
lot of
know.
noise, it's a lot of dogs,
A
I
lot
don't
of
know.
barking, yeah.
Yeah, but
And like that's something you gotta work with your dog. You know, obviously you're gonna start small. You know, that's the best way to do it, and then work your dog's confidence up to a point where you think you can start working with a big pack of dogs running around, playing, roughhousing, potentially wanting to play with your puppy. You know, that's something you gotta work their confidence up to.
yeah. Dogs in heat should be left at home.
Yes.
That's something I think most people would agree with.
I think that should be common sense, but
Yeah. Unfortunately, it seems to slip through the cracks. There was a dog walker the other day. Not gonna throw anyone under the bus,
yeah.
but it was like, you know, dog in heat. My dog swarmed it, which I've never seen them as a group act so like
Crazy.
yeah, just like they all had one goal in mind and they all just swarmed this dog. And I was scared from them. I'm like, oh my God, what? Like, I thought, oh God, my pack is about to like attack this other pack.
Yeah.
And then the walker was like, oh, she's in heat. The owner didn't tell me, sorry. And, you know, it was like,
At that point, I would have left the dog at home instead of bringing her still.
yeah. And so it was like, at least that gave me a little bit of relief because, like, all right, they might not. It got rid of my initial reaction of, oh my God, they're about to go rip this dog apart. But then I was just like, oh well, they still might go rip this dog apart.
Yeah.
And it took me like a minute or two to kind of get them like, hey guys, like, look, pay attention to me. That's not our focus, and just getting them all kind of going the other direction. But it's just like, ooh, that could like if I had no control of my dog, or if say I had like an unneutered male, that could have been like extra bad.
Yeah.
Because again, this is a dog walker, and I don't know how responsible. But like, I'm just thinking like, what if that dog gets pregnant? Who's responsible there? Like,
yeah. The owner who knew that I was not impregnant, in heat, or, you know, the walker who still took it.
Yeah. So I guess just thinking about all those things is just like easy solution.
Yeah.
Leave it at home.
Yeah. And like heat cycles, you know, they can take anywhere for 2 to 3 weeks. So, and that's not saying don't exercise your dog, but it's don't bring your dog in a dog park setting where it can set other dogs off and get your own dog potentially attacked versus other dogs fighting over your dog.
Right.
Even females
Competition.
will fight each other too. It's not just males, it's females too. So it's all one big competition, wolf pack there. You know, it's not that 100% that hive mind, but it's pretty similar. I usually say once you stop seeing your dog physically, you know, bleeding, wait additional 2 to 3 weeks before, because they can be fertile at that time too.
Okay.
So to be safe.
Is it once a year, twice a year?
Once to twice a year. Depends on the dog. Large breeds, there we go. Typically once a year or once every like 8 to 9 months. Okay. Smaller breeds can typically go twice a year.
And
again, they go longer than humans, so.
Yeah. So that's something where I was curious on that. So females will get agitated, I guess, maybe, or
they don't typically show like human signs of being in heat. You can typically tell by, you know, their vulva being swollen, droplets of blood. Sometimes.
Oh, sorry, I totally meant at the dog park.
Okay, sorry.
But I mean, we can go into the whole.
We can go there too, but.
No, I meant like, so would like another female look at a female in heat as like competition and want to take it out?
Yeah,
or like
intact females and spayed females. You know, competition.
Okay.
Versus, you know, attention. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, that's just not a. So interesting how I guess just primitive dogs can be. Like as smart as we like to say they are, and how civilized they are. It's
they're
like they
still
really
dogs.
are.
They're
just,
not humans.
Yeah.
They're dogs. And I love them, but they're dogs.
Yeah.
Like, if I brought Shiloh around an intact female, he's not going to listen to me. I'm going to have to remove my dog from the situation before it's going to be in a situation.
Right. Which, yeah, a lot of people don't.
Do.
Yeah. So as far as intact males, I mean, you've got Shiloh. He's doing dog shows, so he's not fixed. You came around. So with my pack, I would say, and I don't know if this is, so I don't know much about like wolves. I'm sure you know so much more about wolves than I do. As far as when they have their pack structure, do they have an alpha male and an alpha female usually? Or is it,
Yeah.
okay, interesting. So Gunther is what I would call my alpha male, and Bailey's my alpha female, like 100%. And they don't have to be alphas too often. Typically, like they'll have like Frankie, I guess, like be the bouncer. Like if a dog comes in. So if a dog I have never encountered before comes in, I'm gonna know probably within 10 seconds if everything's gonna be cool or not cool. It's either gonna be Frankie growling because she doesn't like the dog and she's got a crazy read on dogs. I just trust her. So it's like, all right, let's move. Or if it's an intact male, specifically one that wants to be dominant, wants to like come in and like assert himself, that's where Gunther will sort of step in. And a lot of times he'll sort of like, nip at the snout, sort of say like, look, I'm in charge, but it seems like he only ever has an issue with intact males that are, sort of forwardly, not aggressive, but trying to, So like Shiloh the other day, he was not trying to come into the pack and take over. He was just trying to play. He wasn't trying to like establish his dominance. And not a single one of the pack members had like an issue with Shiloh. So just when you're bringing your intact male, be mindful of, is my dog the humpy type, the aggressive type, or is my intact male kind of like Shiloh, where he's just kind of a goofball? I don't really have to worry about him. Even like Henry, when the Golden I watch, I started watching him when he was 1. He didn't have much socialization, and he was not fixed. Gunther would like haze the hell out of him. He was always hazing him, not beating him up, but just sort of like, hey, remember, I'm like in charge. But he never looked at Henry as a threat. Yeah. Much like they didn't look at Shiloh as a threat. But some dogs, like there's a couple Rottweilers, I'm not trying to single anyone out, at the park where they're unfixed. Sometimes the owners aren't paying attention, and I can just see it being like this disastrous situation. So I don't think
that's where human etiquette comes in.
Yeah. So I don't think that there should be like no intact males allowed, but you just have to know your dog
and know when to intervene. You had to pay attention. You gotta know when to intervene. Your dog can antagonize a dog into fighting too. Like it doesn't have to be right away and they seem fine until your dog, is overstimulated and is humping and, starts posturing, and then it's like male versus male, female versus male. Some females really hate being humped because they have had traumatic experiences in the past. You never know where that dog came from. So, and it's the same with, females that have never been bred before. Some just don't like being humped. That's going to be a fight.
Get off. Yeah. Bailey, she plops her butt.
Jetta does the same.
And she knows, sits. Don't touch me.
Oh, yeah. She sits and growls and...
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah. So, yeah, if you know your dog's a hump or not. So do you ever, worry about Shiloh? I guess, do you have, any extra fear or anxiety from knowing he's not fixed, or are you confident?
Because I'm worried about other males. I'm not particularly worried about him. I'm worried about other males, and it seems to be more neutered males that go after him than intact males. But he's been attacked. There's a poodle there that whenever I see him, I'm like, other way, gotta go the other way, because he goes after Shiloh every single time.
Which is smart. I see like so many people where they'll be like telling me, oh, my dog doesn't like that dog. And then like we'll walk by them and it's like, you didn't make an effort at all to like avoid, you know what I mean? And it's like
you gotta be an advocate for your dog. Don't put them in situations where they're gonna attack or they're gonna be attacked. You know, you gotta, try to avoid that to the best of your ability. Again, human etiquette, be ready to intervene if there is something. Scuffles do happen, and they do happen out of the blue sometimes. Dog behavior is so quick sometimes that we don't see it, and you gotta be ready. And I really suggest being careful when you intervene, because that's when a lot of dog bites to people happen. So if you, like my mom's dogs used to go at it. They were both very dog aggressive dogs and put together in a house that now they got to live together. I'm pretty sure she got bit a couple of times trying to separate them from going at it. Eventually they did mellow out because we worked really hard at it, but I've learned that hard way too. Yeah.
There's definitely a correct way and an incorrect way. I've heard about finger in the butt. I've never tried it because in the moment, that's not something that. Oh, really?
No.
Oh, yeah. Apparently that'll stop a fight.
They're gonna be too busy moving.
Yeah. I know. I usually just try to grab the rear legs.
That's probably the safest. You just gotta be careful the dog doesn't turn around and try to attack you, because they think you're an attacker as well. Because dogs will gang up on other dogs that are being attacked. It doesn't. It could be two separate dogs, and a fourth and fifth will come running in and get involved. They just like thrive on that chaos, and they amp each other. Exactly. Like they just feed off each other. Exactly. And if you know your dog's going to be, a problem, or you're nervous, or your dog's in heat, there's always on-leash dog parks you can go to. The one right next door to Starters, I think it's like Abigail Adams. You can walk your dog on a leash there. Long leash, you don't have to do a short leash. You want to work on the exercise, that's totally fine. They don't, not deserve to be exercised, but they should be on a leash to be safe. There's plenty of parks that are on leash.
Just responsibly exercising them.
Exactly. And that's you advocating for your dog, and that's responsible.
So speaking on, I'm sure it varies breed by breed, because I'll see a whole range. I mean, obviously there's puppies who aren't fixed at the dog park, and most dogs seem to know, seems like about 1.5, 2, I'd say, maybe earlier, is roughly when it seems like dogs go from it's not a threat to, oh, he's 1.5, 2 now. He seems to be a threat.
Sexually mature.
Okay.
They're getting sexually mature.
Is there obviously not everybody is going to fix their dog, and I'm not here to say you have to fix every single dog, fix your dog. But is there a good time? I guess I'm sure it's breed dependent, but
it's very breed dependent, because every vet will tell you something different. Some will say wait, some will say 6 months. Every vet will tell you something different. You can look it up, you'll get 100 different answers. I'm personally, if you don't plan on breeding and your dog is potentially showing signs of aggression or anything like that, I'd recommend neutering. You can keep a dog intact, but you have to do it responsibly, and you got to keep an eye out for the risks of keeping them intact. So for males, prostate cancer, that's a big one. And for females, pyometras, which is an infection of the uterus. That's also very big. Both can kill the dog. If you're going to do it responsibly, just make sure you're on top of it. If you're going to neuter your dog, large breeds, I usually say over a year. That's my personal preference, because they take longer to mature. And it could be a little bit more beneficial, especially for females to go through 1 or 2 heat cycles. So they're not prone to UTIs or urinary incontinence, stuff like that. Versus males, bone growth. You can really tell the difference sometimes in males that have been neutered at 6 months or younger. They don't have the same density as an intact male. If small breeds, you can typically get away with 6 to 8 months. Sometimes 9 months is fine. But anytime you start to see, if the dog's having aggression, that should be a sign to neuter sooner rather than later. just to be safe.
Yeah. And when you, one thing I'd like to clarify there is when we say aggression, are we talking about humping, like actual fighting, like
Actual fighting,
what level of
humping to a degree.
like we said before we hit record, like I don't think there's a single scenario where humping has led to a good thing. Like it's always just a negative.
Unless you're purposely breeding, humping does not lead to a good thing. Usually it does end up in a fight because that bottom dog's gonna eventually get sick of it and try to stick up for itself, you know. Or that bottom dog is gonna snap, you know. It's not, you know, humping's not necessarily, you know, aggression based, but it can turn into aggression. Same thing with, you know, just growling, people aggression. We get a lot of dogs that come in with people aggression and dog aggression. That testosterone pumping through it is probably not going to help.
Yeah, I remember being like teenager, all that angst. I was like, just being like so like amped up and crazy.
Exactly. And a lot of people can't manage that. And, you know, that would probably be a good sign to neuter your dog to help calm down that and then start getting into training, because neutering and fixing is not going to be a fix to behavioral issues. It's that plus training with a one-on-one. It's not like a PetSmart pet co-trainer. You can't go to a group setting and expect results for your dog not to be aggressive. They're working on basic commands there. Right. You want to go to an actual trainer who works on behavior modification to be safe.
Okay. Yeah, so if you see, humping, growling, just sort of bullying, I guess, in general. Yeah, it's a good sign.
If the dog seems overly dominant, that too.
Okay. And another one just between the two where dogs in heat and unneutered males, there's, again, that whole potential for puppies. And
don't be a backyard breeder.
Yeah, there's, you know, that's just a whole can of worms there where it's just like two random dogs. Who knows what they are? Who knows what their parents, you know, just thinking about that's
that's
terrifying.
when you start to become a backyard breeder. You mean well, you think it's awesome, great. It's an accident, you know, accidental things happen, totally understandable, but, you know, it gets to the point where you start to become a backyard breeder.
Yeah. If
and
it's like,
that's not responsible.
Yeah, I know a few dogs that have gotten pregnant there, and it's just like, I don't want to go into details because I don't know them.
And that can cause fights too. Dogs getting tied, another male will attack the group. That's also a reason why not to bring a in heat female to a park, because if they get tied with another dog, that's other males will typically attack them.
Oh, they'll like pick right up on that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, interesting. Tied meaning
like locked in
there. Yeah. I've always wondered. I've always heard like rumors or whatever, myths. So that's a thing. You can't rip them apart, right?
You can break the male's penis.
Oh, that's crazy.
Yeah, we've had dogs come in with broken penises. Because they have a bone in there, so.
Yeah, so if you've got your dog, I can see how like that could very quickly, if another male came and they're fighting, that could end horribly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There is Plan B for female dogs. I've never personally seen it, but there are places that do like contraceptives.
Interesting. So
just because
that's after or
after.
Okay. So there's no like doggy birth control?
No. There's a doggy Plan B.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah. To me, I'm just thinking out loud. That just seems like I'd rather just neuter my dog or spay my female.
Yeah, I mean, if it's like a show dog, though, you gotta think if you're exercising your show dog.
True, like you're with Fable, right? Exactly. You probably won't spay her, right?
Not right away. I mean, if I don't plan on breeding her, I will spay her.
Okay.
And for showing, you have to show intact females. So I always have to worry about pyrometras and mammary cancer in her future.
Okay. Do you think it's more or less likely that you'll have issues with an intact male or an intact female going to the dog park? Which one do you sort of, I guess, think?
I feel like intact male because I see more intact males. I don't feel like I see a lot of intact females, but I also know like when they're in heat, so I would avoid that for her. And that's something I'm gonna have to, avoid Shiloh and Fable being together, going through her first heat cycle, because I'm not gonna breed them obviously right away if I were to breed them. So it just really depends, male versus female. I think I'm going to see more issues with males because I see more intact males.
That's fair enough, yeah. There's more chances for it to kick off and go sideways.
Exactly.
Another thing that causes a lot of fights would be food, treats.
Yes.
Everyone means well.
Oh my goodness, treats as a whole. Don't bring treats, don't bring food for you to eat there.
No.
Causes fights. You can give it to a dog with food allergies, and you can mess up a whole, that dog was doing so well, and now it's back to square one to itchy skin, patchy skin, skin infections, diarrhea, vomiting. Like, those dogs don't need treats. There's obese dogs who don't need treats there.
Yeah, the cattle dog I watch
and then there's food aggressive dogs as well.
Yeah, I'd say out of all the like food issues I see, aggression, it's weird because they'll be like getting along, and then I don't know, I feel like once the treats start to get limited, they start to get like agitated, because like I used to see a guy there who would like carry around bags of treats, and there'd be like a circle of dogs around him, and I always was like, Bailey would run over and I'd be hold my breath for a second, because it's like there's 15 dogs over there, they're all thinking about food.
Exactly.
I don't
and
know
there could be resource guarding dogs there too, that big fight.
Yeah, so I personally don't bring any treats ever. I don't need the treats for my pack to like get them to listen, just because they're all like on the same page anyway.
Dogs for just like toys too, when
like,
you know what you're doing. So.
Yeah, they've got the routine down. I could see like with a puppy, but I'd still say like
be careful.
Be very careful.
I'd say
if you require treats for your puppy to come back to you, you're probably not ready to
be at a dog park.
At the dog park, yeah. Or at least an off-leash
dog park, long lead. Abigail Adams right down the street.
Yeah.
But I would say, treats aren't, like if you're bringing one-on-one, you and yourself and your dog, and you're not doing it around other dogs, I think that's fine.
Right.
Just be prepared that other dogs will be able to sniff out those treats.
Yeah, they go right in into your pockets.
But
they might jump up on you. If you're just handing out
treats, that's not good.
That's an issue.
And then people there's 2 picnic benches there, 3, I think.
Yeah, a couple in the front, yeah.
I think there's one in the front.
A couple in the back.
One in the back. Don't bring human food, because
I've seen so much.
I let my dogs go up on those picnic tables, and their nasty feet are going on those tables, and you're bringing food and you're setting it down on the table.
Yep.
2, dogs don't have manners sometimes. They're going to hop right up and steal that out of your hand, and that can accidentally get you bit. So if your kid holding a sandwich about to bite it, and Shiloh is child-sized, he's going to take that right out of your hand. Like, he's a food hound.
Yeah, lunch and picnics. I've seen some picnics there.
Yes, not a good place to sit
either. My pack swarms them, and like they're like in the bed. The guy like, excuse me, can you? And it's like, dude,
you're at a dog park.
You brought a bag full of food. Yeah.
Again, right next door.
Yeah, Cody stole someone's meatball sub once from Subway.
Oh my goodness.
And they were so mad, but at the same time they were like, yeah, like they were like, yeah, that was kind of a stupid idea. It's like, you really didn't think of like.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, so I don't do treats. I've seen treats cause a lot of issues, but at the same time, so shout out to another dog walker, Erin. She has this interesting technique I don't know if technique's the right word, but she has a little like Tupperware thing filled with like treats and cheese, and she almost shakes it like a chicken feeder, and it
they come running.
goes everywhere. But like she's got her own pack,
Okay.
and like they'll mill about and kind of crunch on them. And I've never seen like her pack get aggravated with each other. So I don't think it's like
I think
necessarily
that's just knowing, at that point, knowing your specific dogs.
right. Now, if a bunch of random dogs come in, you know, I don't think you'd want to get caught in that middle of that process. No. But it's not to say that it's the end of the world if you've got treats. You just have to like
use it responsibly.
Yeah, it's literally all about you paying attention.
Exactly.
And just like observing it all and absorbing like
and also
your surroundings.
ask the owner before giving a stranger's dog treats.
Kylie, my cattle dog, has liver disease.
Exactly.
She's on a renal diet, whatever that is. I think no like crude animal fat or something.
It's lower protein.
Is that what it is? Okay, lower protein. So like people all the time, and I'll be like, no, she's good.
Yeah. Like, ask before you give someone's dog a treat, because one, they have allergies. They may be sensitive, like sensitive stomachs. Some dogs can only eat their food and their food alone. And then also resource versus dog fights.
Yeah, Cody. I love you, Cody, but he can be a little pain in the butt for throw up. If there's throw up on the ground, which is usually it's interesting. I usually see the throw up on the ground when all the treat people are there, because there's a couple people that bring like. I mean bags.
I've seen it. Grocery bags full
Holy
of treats.
Smokes. And so like that's usually when I see the throw up. Whether or not that's coincidental, whatever. But like Cody, he'll claim that puke, and it's his puke.
Yep.
Don't you even think about touching it.
Yep. I've had dogs at the ER when we make them vomit, they start resource guarding the vomit.
Yeah, one time it was real bad where a dog was throwing up, and Cody was trying to go after the dog while he was throwing up, because he was trying to claim the throw up that the dog was currently throwing up. And it was just like, Cody, slow down.
Yeah.
Like,
Get ahead of yourself there.
Yeah. So like food, it can just set certain dogs are so like infatuated with food.
Exactly.
That it's best to just, in my opinion, avoid it. Again, I don't personally do treats. I don't need to. My guys all stick right with me.
Yeah, I don't typically bring treats. I brought treats that first time I brought Fable, but she was too focused on other stuff.
There's enough going around that like,
yeah,
they're not really thinking about.
And thankfully, so far, my pack has stick with me, so
Yeah.
I haven't needed to worry.
Yeah.
I mean, Fable, when we first brought her there, and she was like, "I'm going this way," but she turned right around once she realized that no one else was following her. And,
Yeah, she didn't want to be alone.
Yeah.
Yeah, Cody likes to steal food. Cody also loves to steal toys out of people's carriages. If you're gonna bring your children to the dog park, please educate them. And when I say
prepared.
Yeah, when I say educate them, we need no running at the dogs. Dogs don't like that. Yeah. If you run at them, they'll probably get scared, take it as a threat. If you run away, they're gonna think it's a game and they want to chase you.
Oh yeah, and think of Shiloh-sized dog chasing you. It's pretty scary.
Yeah, as a kid, that can be intimidating. It's easy as a parent to go, oh,
yeah,
but like
the kid's screaming, and then you're traumatizing the kid to never want to be around dogs, and that's not fair. So just make sure kids know to, be respectful of the dogs. Don't scream in their face. Don't run from them or at them. It turns into a game. It's very stimulating for some dogs to see things run because it's like a prey drive.
Banjo.
Not necessarily that the kids prey, but it's a drive that, something's running, so I got to run too.
And the next thing you know, like
the kid's on the falling,
screaming,
crying. Yeah.
And you're the jerk. It's like
that's the thing. It's not the dog's fault for being a dog at a dog park that's off leash. It's the parent's fault, and you should take responsibility. But they're not gonna because they went for a stroll.
Yeah, a lot of times it'll either be mom and dad aren't parenting. Like I hate having to be the parent. Like even the other day, or yesterday morning, there was a guy with his 2 kids and their Doberman. And just because your dog's used to your child doesn't mean that all the dogs at that dog park are going to be used to your child. So, like, this kid's 6 to 10, chasing his Doberman, and whatever, his Doberman likes it. His Doberman's used to it, but he's running, screaming at the top of his lung, chasing his Doberman. And then he starts running towards my group, you know, like with the intent, you know, screaming like, let's go see those doggies, and screaming and running my way. And it's sort of just like, I have to just, you know, turn on my heel and just beeline it the other way. Cause it's like, my group's not going to like that. They don't want you to come in here, chase them. And like, I know your dog is okay with that, but not every dog's going to be. So just make sure your child knows that just because we do this at home or we do that at home doesn't mean we can do it here.
Exactly.
You know?
And you also got to think of dogs who are protective at that point. Some dogs are protective of kids, and that can cause fights at dog parks. Their kid is a resource to the dog, so that dog is going to be protective of the child and or the owner. You know, again, those dogs shouldn't go to off-leash dog parks. On-leash dog parks, sure, because the owner can control that and go different direction from, you know, the potential problem. But yes, children need to know when not to, you know, chase after other dogs. That's just
we all want to be there for and have a fun and safe time, but like, you gotta think like, and I'm usually not honestly even justified in my worry because I know most of my dogs will be fine. I just, again, have to be proactive. I don't want it to get to the point where that kid got bit. I'd rather just avoid the situation
altogether.
And it sucks, you know, like, but then there's some kids who are amazing.
Yep, I've had a bunch of really good kids who are like, can I pet your dog? I'm like, sure, Shiloh will lick your face off. Yeah,
so like kudos. This isn't at every kid and every parent. Like there's plenty out there, like kudos. You're doing it right. Like I see plenty of parents where they're not on their phone or talking while the child's a mile over that way, and meanwhile the dog's a mile that way. Like it's just like the 3 of you are in the 3 chaos. Different where I've seen plenty of parents who it's like the kid's right next to them, they're walking, everybody's calm, and it's like, all right, you get it. Like
exactly. And I think also be careful of carriages with very young children as well, because that looks like they may have a toy or food, so dogs are going to come up and sniff the child, and that's probably not the most sanitary with a very young child. I know Shiloh will do it because he he was born with his breeder who has 11 kids of her own.
Ooh.
Yes.
It's a family and a half right there.
So he loves kids. He loves kids. He will lick them to death. He wants to play with them. He thinks he's a kid. So anytime he sees kids, he sees carriages, he's like, oh my God, it's the best day of my life. Yeah. And I'm like, you're 95 pounds and running up to these kids. Yeah. And usually the kids are fine. They're like, oh my God, can I pet your horse? I'm like, yeah, go ahead. But, you know, with carriages and tiny babies, I'm like, oh, please be careful. And I'm like, owner or the mom or dad, whoever has the kid, just, you know, be prepared that dogs are going to run up to them because they don't know what that is. Funniest child story I think I ever have. This is extra great just because I'm a little tipsy off that beer. So back when I had drones before I sank them both in the water there, I was recording one day and the drone was like a couple hundred feet above us, and the sun was starting to set, so the shadows were really long. And the way the drone was positioned, it was directly above us. We were like invisible little dots, but our shadows were extremely long, and you could see the dogs. You could tell which dog was the dog based on the shadow. Like it was pretty incredible. It was like artistically beautiful. And I just remember reviewing the footage because I just put it up there and did like a
record for an hour and I'll sort of scrub through later. And I remember watching all these shadows, and mom and dad, they were up by, say, the dumpster by the front gate, and like a couple 100 feet towards the hill, was me and all my dogs. This kid's running from the dumpster towards all the dogs. Someone's super jumpy dog goes taking off towards the kid. And again, you're not seeing the actual, you're just seeing the shadow. So you see this shadow of a child running and this shadow of and this dog jumped, collided, sent this kid flying back. But again, it's just the shadows. It was like, and of course, mom and dad were nowhere to be found.
Oh my gosh.
It took them like a minute and a half to finally like get to the kid. But it was just really, really funny. So if you're going to bring your kid, pay attention, or else they're going to get knocked down and hurt.
It's going to happen. There's dogs of all, you can trip on some pretty small dogs there.
Yeah. Leashes are extremely important. I would highly recommend, and I'm myself, I guess, going to be, what's the word here? Hypocritical. If you're in the parking lot, leash your dog. I don't really go in the parking lot per se. But the amount of dogs I have to play Frogger with when trying to pull in or out can be a little like crazy. Like
Also,
they shouldn't be.
The highway is right there.
Yeah, like they shouldn't be running around free in the actual like concrete parking lot.
Yeah.
I pull up, I back into a spot like against like the gate. So like I flip it open, they hop out, they're in the grass,
and they go
and
right
away
into
we
the
go.
gate,
And then when we leave, they, again, routine, they just hop right into the car.
I leash my guys, and that's just my paranoia, because I'm like,
no, 100%.
One time they're gonna see a rabbit across the street, and that's game over.
That's it. Yeah. But like I've even been like backing into a spot and like just caught it on my backup cam and had to like slam, and it's just like, why is there a dog in like the middle of the park, and like
and
it
the
just
owner's like way over there,
screaming. So it's like, leash in the parking lot. I'm hypocritical. You're not. Do it.
I mean, Jetta's off leash, but
yeah,
like you saw how she walks at the dog park. She's a shadow.
I know.
And she's pretty good. So I'm semi hypocritical, I'll say. But Shiloh and Fable, since they're sight hounds, they are on the leash in the parking lot, and even once they're on leash until we get through the gate, and then that's when I take them off.
Just so they know like their boundaries.
Exactly. And that's something to stuff to bring. So a leash, poop bags, keep those. You can tie them right to your leash. They have those little things nowadays. You can clip them right to your leash.
I have them clipped to my cameras usually.
I saw. And then water. You just gotta be very careful. I hate when people leave water out, because my dogs are deep chested, so they're prone to bloating if they chug water and then run, and then their stomach could flip. So I bring water for your dogs, but be careful giving it to your dogs. Even small breeds can bloat. Even non-deep chested dogs can bloat. That's a very expensive surgery. It's life or death, same day type of thing. You gotta get to the ER right away.
On a really hot, humid day, is it better to go home with them a little more thirsty, and like,
I think so.
Maybe a little dehydrated?
I think on hot, humid days, take it slower than you normally would. I don't let my dogs drink water until we get home, and it's an hour, like a half hour from exercise. So German Shepherds, very prone to bloat. Borzois, my own breed. Greyhounds, Weimaraners are prone to it. St. Bernards, like any of the dogs that have the big chests, or that they have like that dip in their body, whack that out of the way, are prone to bloat. So I rather my dogs go home thirsty, but they can sleep on the way home, calm down, the adrenaline's not pumping, they're not panting and chugging water and that air and getting that all mixed together. So whenever I see water bowls at the dog park, I try to avoid them, because my dogs will drink them, And I'm like, that's once they drink them, it's like game over. I can't let them keep playing.
Not to mention it circles back to earlier about, you know, spreading
Oh
stuff.
my goodness.
Yeah.
That's how your dog's going to get kennel cough. That's going to, you know, you can get canine herpes there too. That's like, it's little lipoma things all over them. So all over their mouth. They're contagious. You can't go to doggy daycare. You can't go to dog parks. You can't, you know, let your dog interact with other dogs because it's contagious. And it's pretty much doggy herpes. Ugh. So, and there's nothing to treat, and you can't get them removed because they'll go away on their own. You just got to be patient. Unless they're chewing on them and they're causing issues, and I'd recommend getting them removed. But like I said, water, back to water. Certain breeds, you can go a little slow. If you're going to give your dog water, don't let it chug water. Give it like tiny amounts just to be safe. Keep them a little hydrated. If you're going to be there for long periods of time, take it slow. If you're going to be there for a short period of time, you know, let them run, let them go crazy, let them be thirsty. That's fine. They're not going to drop dead from being thirsty. Overheating, yes, they can drop dead from, but being thirsty, no. And then what else did I say? A first aid kit. Is a really good idea, you know, in case your dog gets attacked, in case you get bit, you know, some bat wrap, tweezers, gauze, antibiotic ointment is fine. And then towels. Towels is a good thing to have. If your dog's
especially at
wet,
Stoddard's neck, it's like...
just to help start the drying process because dogs are prone to hot spots.
Yeah, Henry the Golden,
Yep.
I watched, it's like... Ugh, they're all over them. I feel bad.
Yeah, it's just the moisture gets caught in the coat, so don't let your dog start to sit and marinate on your drive home. Dry them off a little, or even just keep your car clean, you know. That's just something to have. But that's like the main things you should have. I'm sure there's other things you should bring, but...
Yeah, leash is probably the most important. I carry a whole bag of them. I very rarely need to use them in the sense of I need to leash everybody for safety or to like vacate an area.
Yeah, the only time I leash Shiloh is pretty much when I can tell he's going to start to get a little humpy, you know. I can see in his face, I know when he's going to start behaving like that. I leash him and I remove him from the situation, so...
Yep. So one thing you didn't mention in that what to bring is like squeaky toys and Frisbees.
Yeah, I mean, my dogs aren't toy motivated, but obviously if your dog's toy motivated, it's a good way to get your dog back to you if it stops listening, but that's a good thing to bring, you know, if your dog's very toy motivated, or a working breed, because, you know, you can keep him working the whole time. There's a Malinois that goes there, and all he does the whole time while he's walking laps is throwing that ball. Yep. I think her name is Shoshana or something like that. Yeah. I like that dog.
I'm watching all three of them. Starting on January 1st,
she used to go to my old hospital, or she still probably does, but I don't get to see her anymore. Yeah, she has a chipped canine and stuff like that. I'm like, don't. She's
got a very distinct bark. Anytime they come to the park and I hear them, I know. I'm like, oh, that's Shauna. Yeah. Yeah, toys can be hit or miss. I think again, it all comes down to you being aware of, you know, if you have a Frisbee and you throw it, and some other dog's eyeing it, and all of a sudden they're tugging, you know, starting tug of war, and they're getting nasty.
Yeah,
it's
it
like,
can become a fight.
Put it away until
lose the Frisbee. Some dogs are thieves, and owners don't pay attention. Yep. I've had that happen to my grandmother. She brings her German Shepherd, who loves her ball and Frisbee, you know. Yeah. And she'll leave without the ball and Frisbee by the end of the day.
Every time, yeah. That's why I stopped bringing toys. Because anytime I'd buy one, it'd be like
you
missing.
Can always find usually like 3 or 4 there.
Yeah, my guys always just pull out random tennis balls. Which...
Again, diseases, but
yeah, it depends. Yeah, for me, like letting my guys play with the ball or not, even that's a decision that's calculated. Depends on for me, like, all right, which pack members do I got?
Exactly, you did that the other
day. And what
day.
dogs are around me.
Yep.
You know, like sometimes I've got to put the ball away because, like with... Sadie, a dog I'm watching, she will steal the ball. So she's not like resource aggressive. I don't want to label as that, but she's very possessive. Yeah. She wants like the attention. She craves attention of all the dogs. She knows if I get the ball, they all pay attention to me. They all chase me. I get what I want. So I'm just, you know, trying to get the ball from her is it's impossible. So I've been, you know, working on just like her impulsive behavior. So like, again, depending on like the scenario, it's sort of you've got to make that decision of am I going to bring a toy, or am I even going to use this toy? You know, like I said, sometimes you just got to put it away.
Yeah.
And it sucks. I've had so many brand new Frisbees, like Chuck It Frisbees, $20, and it's like, I just bought that. Where the fuck is it?
Yeah.
It's gone. Squeaky toys, though, they can be, if you got one in like your pocket.
A good recall.
Good, like just to get your dog like, ooh, what?
Attention,
focused, you know.
Focused on you.
You might get more than one dog's attention, but you know you'll get your dog's attention. Yeah. Much with the leash, collars are important. Few reasons. I mean, I've personally caught a few dogs where it's like, can you get that dog? Like if they're not going to the owner. Yeah. It's like, yeah, come here, baby. And they come over and, yep, gotcha. And you can kind of transfer it easy. Obviously, tags. I mean, if your dog, I've had a few times where I found dogs there. Not that they were like dumped, but clearly like anxious, separated.
Yeah, like their owner's on the other side of the island because they got busy playing and they didn't realize, and the owner didn't realize. And I've come across that a couple times. Sometimes
I can call, and sometimes it's like, you've got nothing.
Yeah.
I've got
I'm
nothing.
guilty of this because I usually don't keep collars on Shiloh. I used to, but then we started showing, and the collars caused his fur to be bent, and you could see like the ring of where the collar would be. He has like a thigh collar, so I use that to track his steps and stuff because I don't have to really worry about him running off on me. It's more for his exercise, thankfully. But typically, when you have a collar, make sure, you know, name, address, and phone number is the safest. That if they're microchipped. And
make sure it's up to date and it's not showing that he's still in Texas from the rescue or what I like.
Exactly. You can always change that, and you can even apply. Most microchip companies will let you apply with even a different microchip number from their brand to register under them because they want, you know, the registration fee. But then your dog's registered and you don't have to worry about it. To at least you and your information. Usually rescues will give you the microchip information too to change it. Okay. But I will say I am guilty of not putting collars like you for Fable and Shiloh the other day. I use slip leads a lot because it's easier to put on them and I don't have to worry about their fur too much. And Jetta had a collar and her choke chain. I don't use it, but it's just there for her name tags.
Yeah. I can't say that I've come across like a dog that didn't have tags where I was like, I need to get that dog's info because it was fresh. Definitely seems to more be like, let's try to reunite these people. So if you don't have tags, I can't help you.
Exactly.
Your lost dog at the park trying to find you.
I usually keep the dog with me. I'm like, okay, this is my new dog until we run into your owner.
And I have a lot of dogs that will
I tell people
tag along.
Yeah.
Like they'll see my group and all of a sudden it's just like
Daisy will join my group of my dogs because she loves Shiloh. Yeah. And I'm like, okay, we'll find him at the end. And then, you know, usually when I find a lost dog there, I usually just have them come with me and I'll tell people on my way, oh, if you see someone looking for their dog, I'm walking this direction and this is what the dog looks like. And if they're looking for him, meet me on the other end.
Yeah, and also too, like,
don't actually leave the dog park with someone's dog until you know they're not actually not there and you've tried to like locate them.
Oh, which I... All right, I'm not going to mention any names in a negative way. There's a woman named Danielle who has, gosh, what's your names? Lily. Lily's her dog. And there was a dog walker. Left one of the dogs there, took off. Was gone probably like a half hour. And so Lily's owner, Danielle, ends up bringing this dog home. I leave the dog park probably around, or I left the dog park before her. But after that dog walker, whose dog it was. So I get home, maybe an hour later, I get a phone call from Danielle. Hey, I've got Max, generic name, not actual name.
Max and Molly, our generics.
Hey, I've got Max. He was down at the beach with me. I called the owner and just let her know that I have her and that she's not with you. And I'm like, I know that name of the dog. I know Max, but anyway, sorry, Danielle, Max isn't mine, but I know that name for some reason. And so she had called the owner and said, hey, I've got your dog. It was left at the dog park. And then finally figured out whose dog it was. The owner went to her house in like Braintree and picked it up. But then like the story got twisted by the dog walker, and like it just got like super shady.
Messy
and like messy. And so just thinking about like that situation.
Always call it animal control. That's a good option.
Yeah.
So that way it's recorded.
Like if that dog didn't have tags, that could have been real bad.
Yeah.
Like for that dog walker, like because that dog walker was able to kind of manipulate it a little. I feel like they kind of like lied to the client, I think, and like still have the dog or whatever. And it's like, it was just this shady thing, but like it could have been, that's like a oh shit moment where it's like, that could have been real bad.
Exactly. And even like if you think a dog's lost, that owner could still be there, and then you end up taking that dog from the park while the owner is still frantically looking
Can
for
you imagine?
it. That's like a last resort type of thing, is to take the dog from the dog park. I would contact animal control. I would make sure everyone that I see walking around the dog park knows that I have such dog. I don't know. You can be like, I don't know its name, but it looks like a husky mix, and if you see someone looking for this type of dog, tell them I'm walking this direction, so that way the owner can walk the opposite direction.
And it seems like word travels fast there too. Like all of a sudden everybody knows like there's a missing dog and what dog it is.
Exactly. Jetta's, I think she was chased by a big, what was it? It was like a Swiss Shepherd, maybe. No, Anatolian Shepherd. And I think it was his first time there, and he, I don't know, not well trained. Anatolian Shepherds have a mind of their own, I guess.
Is that similar to a German Shepherd? I'm not familiar.
They're like bigger. They're like livestock guardians almost.
Big lion fighters.
And it chased her, so she was petrified and she ran into the woods. And the first thing I did was put my other, so Shiloh, I didn't have Fable at the time, in my car so I could focus on finding her. And so I was walking and telling people as I went, I'm looking for my dog. She's tan and black. She probably won't come up to you because she's timid, but if you see her, let me know, or if you've seen her, or if you had other people asking about her. She was hiding in the woods and came out for me like 10 minutes later, but always be ready to put, or if you have more than one dog, the other dog away, just so you can focus on finding your dog, the other dog that's missing. If it's hot out, obviously leave your car on and running with AC. Don't leave a dog in a hut.
Weird thing. Another weird little thing. I always try to think of everything. I purposely try to pull in, I make sure my tank's not empty.
That's a good one.
Before I pull in. I know it's like weird, but it's like I'd rather pull in with like a full tank, because like Lawson, the blind, he doesn't want to walk all the time, and sometimes he's just like, leave me in the car.
Yeah, that's fine.
So it's like, all right, you got a full tank. Here's the keys.
Exactly. And that's totally fine too. Like, as long as the car is fully running with the AC going, I do recommend cracking the windows open a little bit, because the exhaust, if it's not a windy day, can go back. Carbon monoxide poisoning, people die from being in their garage and their car running. If it's not windy, the exhaust is just going into the car. I learned that even with the windows open, you gotta be a little careful, but as long as the windows are cracked, you're typically safe. And also I have a fan for my car, like a external AC fan for my car for dog shows, and it's like a Ryobi fan, and I love it. It has low and high settings, and it goes for 12 plus hours. And I have backup batteries. When you say
external, meaning?
Like, it's just like a fan that I bought from Home Depot.
Like USB type?
Not even, it runs off of a battery. Like, it looks like a screwdriver battery that you attach to a screwdriver.
Gotcha.
But you attach it to that, runs for 12
hours. Put it in the back of the car.
You can have the car turned off, and you can have that running. A lot of people in dog shows have that. Okay. You'll see, like, their trunk open with that fan in front of the dog. So I've been doing that, and I really like it. It's pretty cool.
That's something I might have to get just because, like, Lawson, a lot of times, he does not want to walk. Yeah. He'll get stubborn. Like, he'll get out, he'll do his business, and then he goes back to the car. So I've currently got a dash cam that records 24/7, even if the car's off. So now I need a fan that'll go 24/7. Yeah, people putting screws in my tires at the dog park.
I know. Such lovely people.
So are there any other, we talked earlier about, like, all right, if your dogs get diarrhea, don't bring it to the dog park. Are there any symptoms that might not be as obvious, like
coughing, sneezing, wheezing,
yeah,
vomiting, diarrhea? I feel like that Pepto-Bismol
commercial covers it all. Yeah. Like if they're limping.
Limping is a good one because you don't want to irritate any injury. Let that dog rest. That's 3 to 5 business days, pretty much. Okay. Let it rest.
Yeah.
But those are the main ones. I don't think I have vomiting, diarrhea, goopy eyes. That's contagious. Could be conjunctivitis. Could be contagious. Could not be. Just depends on what type of conjunctivitis it has. Those are the main ones, though.
Okay, yeah.
Any of those signs?
Pretty self-explanatory. Like, yeah, if it's sick, don't bring it. It's like work. If you're sick, don't go to work.
I mean, if it has like a long-term injury that it's like permanently like limping for the rest of its life, that's fine. Bring it to the dog park. Just keep in mind, those type of injuries can lead to arthritis, and moving is the best thing you can do for arthritis to a degree. If you overdo it, you're going to make the arthritis worse. If you don't want to stop your dog from moving at all if it has arthritis, because that's when it gets worse as well. So you got to find like a happy medium.
There's Rich has a dog. He washes the shirtless guy, Moose. And I feel like my Yorkie had an issue with its kneecaps before, but
luxating patellas.
Yeah, like it'll just go into tripod mode and start running. Its leg will just kind of dangle.
So keep in mind, like when it starts dangling, it's more like cruciate stuff. Like that's stuff that's more needs surgical repair type. But like limping, if it's non-weight bearing, that's probably should get checked out type of thing.
Yeah, I think his kneecap pops out of the...
Yeah. The patellas, yes, they can cause like limping to that degree, but if your dog has luxating patellas, then you know the reason for it. But if your dog doesn't have luxating patellas and it's non-weight bearing on its foot, you probably tore a cruciate. I mean, scar tissue will eventually build up, but so will arthritis in that leg, and in the long run, that's probably not the greatest thing.
Yeah, I see Moose. Like, he'll go, on and off to where he'll, run with all 4, then he'll be running with 3 for, a couple minutes. And running with 4, running with 3.
Also, Lyme disease causes joint pain, so make sure you get your pet tested for Lyme disease, because you may think it's a leg thing, and then you get something treatable, you know?
Yeah, always get your pets checked out and tested.
Yep, once a year. That's all it needs is a heartworm Acuplex, 4DX, whatever one your vet uses, once a year. Just make sure it's fine, and then keeping them up to date on flea tick heartworm all year, because if it's not freezing out, ticks, mosquitoes are out there. Yeah, they freeze when it's 30 degrees or below, just like water. So if it's not frozen, they are out and about.
Yeah.
So you'll get
Which
ticks
is
this
often.
December.
Yeah.
Right now, there'll be ticks.
Yeah. Which nasty little things. I hate ticks.
I do too.
It's like
Ugh.
disgusting.
I know. I'm so used to pulling them off now. I'm just like,
I hate when they're like the size of like a peanut M&M and they're all like squishy. Ugh.
we like to make them explode at the vet by injecting them with hydrogen peroxide, and they kind of just pop. Exactly. Or we just put them in a tick spa, which is just a alcohol little urine container filled with alcohol, and that way we can be like, oh, that was a cool big one, we got that one day. The things that entertain us, you know. It's weird. You gotta be weird to work with animals. So
Over here murdering ticks. Oh God, don't tell me this hasn't been recording this whole time. Is it recording or no? Probably like half an hour. Sick. Oh, all right, Daddy needs to buy some more camera gear.
is it set for automatic? Is it recording now?
It should be recording now, yeah.
Well.
It's all right. Technical difficulties.
I mean, you should be able to hear it through mine at least.
No, it's just video.
I know. That sucks, though.
Yeah. Yeah, you'll be able to hear everything fine. You just, I don't know if I'll have camera angles for me. It's going to be, Courtney's going to be on screen a lot.
Oh, man, I wasn't even paying attention some of the times.
I know, it's fine. We touched a bit on socializing your dog. Or sorry, yeah, socializing your dog before you go.
I'm like looking at it to make sure.
Yeah, that one's still going. That's super important. Not only should they be socialized, they should have at least a basic understanding of like come, sit, stay. If it drives me nuts, I'm just gonna go on a little vent here. It drives me nuts when I see people and they have their dog and their dog is just crazy all over the place. They've got no control. They're yelling, you know, Bailey, 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 come. And then they just start to like walk away and like they're shocking the dog or vibrating the dog or beeping the dog and it's not listening. Finally it comes and it's just like, you guys aren't ready for the park. I know you want to bring your dog is having fun. And it might not be doing anything dangerous, but the fact that it's not listening to you
is dangerous.
Yeah. If you need to literally like coax your dog to come to you, if it's super stubborn, if it's not listening, like you should not be there.
Exactly. At least put it on a long lead. So that way, you know, if you do let go of it, you have more of a chance of getting it back and not to chase your dog, because then it becomes a game for the dog. Even, you know, fearful dogs or new dogs will run from you, you know, having
And that's
that long lead.
this is typically the weekends.
Yep.
That this is like
the weekends, man. The weekends. Don't bring your dog on the weekends.
That's usually when I see most of this, because again, that's when like all
everyone and their mom and dad and their cousin and their great uncle Rick, you know, bringing their dogs that have no socialization, brand new, fresh off the boat.
and they're just, you know,
zapping the shit out of them.
yeah,
you know?
it's just, I feel
it's something
bad.
that should be fun for the dog that's not going to be fun for the dog. And you can make the dog park very scary time for a dog if you're just zapping them constantly, because they don't know when they're going to be zapped and they don't know why they're being zapped.
Right. It would be like if your boss stood behind you all day at work
And had like a buzzer in your ear.
yeah, or like, and anytime you made like a little like, or you did something he didn't want, you like pinched you.
Yeah.
It's like, dude, like, come on, like if you just reward them for the positives,
Yeah. Make it a
you'll
positive experience.
get way further.
Positivity and redirection. It doesn't have to be negative things. Redirect and positivity.
Yeah, today I was walking with Melissa, who owns Odin and Eden, and there's another dog, Huckleberry, who's pretty cool. I like him. He's got a cool look to him. Big, what is it? American, not American Bulldog, but American Staffordshire.
Pure Terrier.
Is that what it is? Kind of big, you know, big hulking brute,
exotic,
huge
pit bull,
head. Yeah, he's like all white. But he's unneutered, and sometimes Odin, like in passing, get a little like, weird, or they
in a tiff kind of thing.
Yeah, so like we were walking by him today, and like the ocean's on our right. I distract them. It's like, hey, look, here's a ball. Ready? Go swimming with the duckies.
Yeah.
I throw it to the water. They all go running down.
Redirection.
And, like, we get to just walk by with like no issue. It's like just paying attention to your surroundings,
Exactly.
and like redirecting as you need, just to avoid like those confrontations.
And it's to know it's okay to have a nervous dog, a fearful dog. Don't set them up for failure, set them up for success.
Mm-hmm.
Some dogs don't like other dogs, just like some people don't like other people. That's totally okay.
Mm-hmm.
Don't force your dog into situations where they're not comfortable. Again, there's leash dog parks, there's leash parks. Massachusetts requires your dog to be on a leash no matter what, minus off-leash dog parks.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's your only escape. But most people do hopefully listen to those rules. Some don't. Set your dog up for success. Bring your nervous, shy, timid, or even fearful dog to a park on a leash, and support that dog to the best of your ability. Make it a positive experience, and work from there. You don't just immediately bring your dog thinking it'll help socialize it to a dog park,
Mm-hmm.
leash or off leash, because inevitably someone will be on a on leash dog park with an off leash dog.
Yep.
That isn't trained.
Yeah.
That's what happens.
Yep.
Set your dog up for success.
The amount of puppies that I've seen, especially like the past year or two, that are there, and
You don't see them ever again come to the dog park.
well, like a lot of them, they'll be interested in the play, and like they'll be doing good with their parents.
Mm-hmm.
Some of them, and they might get like pummeled, run over. So paying attention to who your dog's playing with. I don't know. Just don't bring puppies.
Yeah.
I get so scared with puppies.
Exactly. Wait until they're like 6 months or older. I mean, socialize them. It's okay to start small,
Mm-hmm.
one-on-one, and then a couple dogs. And
Yeah,
then
'cause say you're-
work them up to a whole island of dogs.
Yeah. Because say they get, they're playing one-on-one and they're having fun. Like 2 more dogs might come over, and like say they get run over or pummeled. Like I've seen it. They might take off towards the gate just in that spur of the moment fear.
Exactly. You saw
know?
Fable the other day when she got
Yeah.
scared. She was like,
Mm-hmm.
peace.
So if you don't have like, those basic commands, or like you don't really know that dog well, it can lead to a scary situation. So,
And then it can make it worse.
and training's
for the
never
dog.
over.
Yeah. No.
Never over,
It can make it a lot worse for that puppy. It can make it a lot worse for the dog. Take it slow. It's okay to go slow. Work yourself up to stuff. If that dog's never comfortable in large dog situations, don't put them in those situations. Do walks around your block. There's other ways to exercise your dog. Don't punish the dog to the backyard and only that because it's nervous, scared, fearful, or aggressive. That dog still deserves stimulation in its life.
Yeah. Yeah, and everybody means well when they go to the dog
They mean
park.
well, but
It's like, I'm coming, I'm bringing my dog, we're doing a good thing.
there's no common sense.
Yeah. But yeah, some dogs just, like I said earlier, especially with like having Frankie, and again, it's not because Frankie is mean, it's because Frankie is communicative. But
She lets you know when she's upset. And
I know within 10 seconds of a dog coming up to the pack if it's going to be,
okay. Or
good or bad. So, just make sure they listen, make sure they're socialized, and just understand that they're not going to get along with everyone.
And that being said, like some small dogs don't do well with large dogs and vice versa. Shiloh is a high prey dog, so small dogs running overstimulates him. and he's running with them, and that small dog is like, oh my god, there's a freaking dragon chasing me, like it's gonna eat me. Yeah. He doesn't know any better, you know. So you gotta be able to control that dog in that situation, and also make sure you're advocating for your dog in that situation, and knowing that, you know, what situations set your dog off versus other people's dogs. You have to be able to start to look at their behaviors. Are they posturing? Are they stiff? Are they whale eyes? Are the ears down? Or is the tail tucked? You know, there's a whole bunch of little things that you can start to pick up when you start to watch your dog and other people's dogs. Is there any uncomfortability between any of them, or, you know, are they actually having a good time? Are they play bowing? Are they barking like excitedly? There are loud players. Some dogs growl and bark when they play, and that's totally fine. That's just how they play. Every dog's different.
Yeah, and it can be off-putting at first.
It
where
can
you're
be
like,
off-putting,
I'm not sure.
Yeah, but most dogs get over that once they realize that dog's trying to play with it. But you also have to make sure your dog.
Did that camera just die again? What's going on?
Is it's recording? There's like blinking.
Yeah.
Oops. Let me see what's technical difficulties.
Oh, it's overheated.
Really?
The camera's overheated, yeah.
Oh no.
Canon.
What does that mean?
It needs to cool off. Well, that's all right. We can continue just with like the audio.
Okay.
I'll sort of see if I can scrounge together a video, but this one might just be audio. We'll have to see. Yeah.
I'm okay with. They're just gonna see me drinking a lot. They just post me. So.
And not only do not. So your dog isn't going to get along with every dog it encounters. Not necessarily that it's going to get into fights, but it just might not be interested or want to engage with other dogs. Same with people. It might not want to be pet by you.
Exactly.
It might not want you to approach it with your hand out and getting in its face. Some dogs
You'll
like their space.
You'll never be able to touch Jetta. You will never be able to touch Jetta.
She's just like little ninja.
Oh, exactly. She's like water, you know, to like, she's Jello. She jiggles around you, you know. You will never be able to touch her. She's a stranger danger dog, you know, timid, well trained, thankfully, due to myself, you know. But, most people cannot touch her. She is not, you know, a petting dog. She's more like, you can look at me, but don't touch me.
Yeah. I've seen...
Again, totally okay for dogs to do that. That's totally fine. But you gotta be able to, you know, put your dog in situations where they're not gonna have to feel that stress.
Right. Yeah, you don't want them associating the dog park with, like... Oh, people are going to be like, you know, crowding me and making me anxious. You want them to associate the dog park with fun and being safe and getting their energy out. There's I don't know what kind of dog Rudy is, but it's sort of a weird one. And I've noticed a lot of dogs pick up on body
language.
Or like, there's a guy that's got like a limp. So any type of like body, anything that makes people sort of like walk weird. I'm not trying to put anyone down, but so this gentleman has a limp to the point where like it's definitely noticeable. The dogs pick up on it. Some of them get a little like on edge, and it's obviously not his fault. Like the guy's just out there walking his dog.
Yeah.
But he approached this dog, Rudy, and was like petting him. And it was kind of similar to that story of Sabrina is what it reminded me of. But he was kind of petting him, and he got a little too comfortable and like in my opinion, close and in the dog's face. Almost to... So, another tangent. Sorry, it's like as I go, it's like tangent after tangent.
Oh, yeah.
One thing people don't realize is head-on is confrontational, and if you're staring a dog down, it's confrontational.
Exactly,
so if you're coming in at their head and staring at them, you're just asking
and
for
like leaning over them. It's a very it's a dominating position
Yeah, Rudy was laying on the table, I think, and he kind of like approached him, like they were head on, and he was petting him, like whatever, and eventually Rudy launched himself at the guy, and like it was like my heart sank for a second because I love Rudy. Rudy's a super sweet dog, but my heart sank for a second, like, whoa, did that just like happen? Did he really go for that guy's like face? Like, and it didn't seem like he was trying to kill him, more so just sort of say like, hey, I don't like this. Yeah. Again, like the communication, because if the dog wanted to get his face, he could have got his face. Yeah.
Most of the time it's a warning type thing.
And it was just sort of like, I'm looking at it through the lens of like, all right, I've seen so much, I can kind of dissect that. I could see how, if you know not much about dogs, how that could be like, oh my God, that's a mean, aggressive dog who is like out for blood. Like it can be intimidating. So in that case, you know, I don't think there was any exchange of, hey, can I pet Rudy? You know, blah, blah, blah. It was just sort of like, I just approached and then I got chased off. Yeah. So like always ask the owner. And even then dogs can't consent. So like even asking, like people
doesn't
ask
mean
me.
The dog is okay with it, even if the owner is okay with it.
Right. Like, you can try. It's like you say with Jetta, you can try to pet her.
Yeah. Go on. She'll be across the field before you touch her.
So I personally haven't been asked really ever if, hey, can we pet your dog? Like maybe once or twice. And I appreciate that. Usually I say no if I'm asked, but I'm usually not asked. It's usually like, and I'm not talking about, there's so many people that my dogs know there who my dogs will go up to. You know, I'm sort of specifically talking to like insert person I don't know who's like approaching us and like wanting to sort of engage with them. And it kind of throws me off sometimes just because, again, I am trying to be proactive and like, all right, is this something that
is going to cause an issue?
Could cause, yeah. And usually it's not. You know, like I'm definitely overprotective and like over critical of that stuff. But I think that goes hand in hand with not having many issues. Like if I was less relaxed, I'd probably have more issues with like actual altercations, I guess.
I do let people pet, but thankfully, most of the time, I feel like most people ask, or Shiloh just goes and leans on them.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one thing if the dog comes right up to you and is like,
he's
hey.
a big leaner. But most people I've met, they usually ask, which is nice. And I'm like, that's fine. My dogs are friendly. Yeah. But they know when it's time to go, it's time to go. They can't just keep hanging out with these people.
Right. And so I think to summarize all of those sort of points all together boils it down to pay attention. Don't be on your phone. You can check your phone occasionally. Like
I take pictures with my phone. I'm out there. I'm like, want me to be a photographer here? Want me to be Andrew?
But don't be on Reddit, FaceTime, just browsing,
just scrolling. Pay attention to situations because that could save your dog. Yeah.
And you should want to be there with your dog. Like this is something for you to bond with them with. This is like probably the most exciting part of their day is being at the dog park where they get to
be with you and other dogs.
Yeah. You know, it's like to them, they're going to be so excited. You should want to share in that with them. I think it's fine to have conversation. Just try not to have deep conversation because if you get caught
don't take your attention off your dog.
Yeah, like when I'm talking with people,
because that's how dogs get lost. That's how dogs get hurt, and then you know.
I'm always saying like, fighting. Yeah, I'm listening to you. I'm just watching the, you know, like, and I mean, I'm kind of like socially awkward anyway, which helps.
You're not alone.
Because then I can kind of just like weasel my way around by myself. But most people especially when like there's altercations, and there's honestly not that many altercations there, surprisingly.
A lot of people say on Facebook, they're like, Saturday's neck, it's where all the dogs get in the fight. I'm like,
Yeah.
that's probably because you're there on a weekend.
I know.
But
Saturday at 2 p.m.
Saturday, Sunday, Friday evening is even like considered when people get out of work and they're like, okay, let's take our dogs to the dog park.
Mm-hmm.
That's usually when dog fights happen. I haven't had any issues personally on a weekday. And before I got Fable, I was there like 2 or 3 days a week,
Mm-hmm.
you know, letting Shiloh get all his exercise out.
Yep.
Now with Fable, and I'm working on building her confidence as one should before bringing to a dog park.
Look at you being
I know,
responsible
what is this?
and thinking.
I know. So hard to do. Now I have other plans. So, like the video I sent you earlier, they're in a baseball field, but I blocked off all the entrances so they're able to run free, get some of that energy out.
Mm-hmm.
There's on-leash dog parks you can walk your dog, you know, do a couple laps. It's not the end of the world, you know. Fenced backyards, seeing friends and family's dogs, you know, dogs that your dog can trust, you know, that you know is stable. That's like a big thing. Just dog park etiquette for yourself, human etiquette, and for your dog.
Yep. And be responsible.
Be responsible.
I can't say that enough.
Be responsible.
Like,
say it one more time.
pay attention and be responsible. If you do those two things,
very rarely will you have any issues.
You won't have any issues. Yeah. Oh God, I just had a question. It just left my head. It was like a kind of a out there question.
Mm-hmm.
It's gonna come to me the second we like go off. It's driving me nuts. Well, anyway, yeah. So if you want to, successfully have a good time, just I guess think before you get into situations. Pay attention and just be responsible. Awesome. Well, hopefully not necessarily that anyone learned anything here, because a lot of this is common sense, but hopefully we help to refreshen your memory on you know how you should act at the dog park. So all right, well, again, we might not have a video for this one, but
we'll see you next time, hopefully.
we'll see. Happy New Year, everyone.
Yes, happy holidays, happy New Year.
Stay safe out there. Oh yeah, that's what now I remember.
There you go.
We can go real quick. I think that the dog park is a great, so just going back to like as an outlet for your dog and for socialization, it's a great place to get all that out, but I don't think it should be the only place.
Exactly.
That it should get
other
out.
places.
Yeah. Like I watch Benjamin, who I watch, Panda, who I watch. I'm sure more, but I'm not their only like dog care provider. Mm-hmm. It's like Ben he lives around the corner. I'll see him getting walked around my neighborhood. And as somebody who does that for work, I don't personally look at that as a bad thing. I look at that as a positive for Benjamin.
Any exercise outlet is a positive.
Yeah, like whether it's because they couldn't afford me, whether it's because they want to switch it up for him, like whatever the reason is doesn't matter, because they're giving him such a good life. And like me knowing Benjamin, I love that like he can be shared. Like it's like good, let him go with someone else. Like that's one more person for him to like touch and make happy. And it's definitely good to like switch up like your dog's routine and keep them sort of.
Obviously if you're going to like the dog park every day, you know, this is gonna be kind of similar every day. So switching it up, going to different places, like Wampatuck's a good place to walk your dog. Obviously be careful off leash there. There's certain off leash areas that you can have your dog off. And obviously ticks and deer, worrying about your dog chasing deer, aka Jetta.
Yeah. And I feel like they can gain some valuable lessons outside of the dog park in those situations. Like thinking about like, all right, so like I don't have a lot of time to do leashed activities.
Yeah.
So like at least that's, for instance, Ben and Panda getting leash work
Exactly.
outside of me. And it's like, that just helps me. The work I do I'm sure helps their walkers.
Exactly.
Like it just kind of like everybody's helping each other. Yeah. So
to benefit the dog.
So don't be afraid to, you know, like if your only outlet is you bringing your dog on the weekend to the dog park, it shouldn't be. Okay. Not everybody lives as close to the dog park as I do. I live down the street and I can get there every day.
Oh yeah, it's like 30 minutes for me. So
yeah, like, so I totally get that. But that doesn't mean your dog shouldn't be stimulated.
Exactly. Walk around your block with your dog. It's not the end of the world. That's still stimulation for your dog that, get some of that energy out. Mm-hmm. Dog walkers, baseball fields. Like I said, there's one down the street for me. I just go there all the time whenever I can't make it to the dog park, or since I'm working with Fable, that's a good place to practice, recall. Right. It's a fenced-in area. Any fenced-in area. Some farm places let you bring your dog there, like horse corrals they have. If you ask for permission, they usually are like, yeah, that's fine. Just make sure you don't come between this time and this time when horses are out. Or if you have like a horse reactive dog, don't bring it around, this
horse
area.
Reactive dog. I love that. I know it exists.
There is a lot of dogs.
I know Bailey would be one, yeah. A
lot of dogs do attack horses, and it can cause major damage. So I'm sure that'll be a topic for some other time. I can go into deep conversation about that. So
yeah. Awesome. So yeah, and again, all that would be just building on that foundation that will help you at the dog park. So even though it doesn't seem like it's that in the moment isn't helping you directly with the dog park, but it is.
And this it doesn't even have to be dog park etiquette. It can be dog etiquette overall when you're bringing your dog out anywhere. Right. And this is like a thing that, just don't like leave your dog sitting at home and then confine it to the backyard and then be like surprised when it's reactive to other dogs, like,
or doesn't want to come, or
exactly. It has no idea what it's doing. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we'll see you next time.
Yeah, see you next week.
Happy New Year. Mm-hmm. What'll it be, 2022?
Yep. I know. Where did the year go? I thought it was January yesterday. Like,
I know. Alrighty, great. All right. Thank you and good night.